Welcome to PlayPianoTODAY.com. This is a quick overview of the piano lesson series titled Intros, Fillers, and Endings, Chapter 1. One of the most popular questions that I get asked by students is how to create song introductions. Or how do you create fillers between verses and choruses? Where do you get the material to come up with that? And then when you get to the end of the song, how do you wrap it up? How do you create an ending? This is a really great resource. Let's dig into intros, fillers, and endings. Chapter 1. Every great song has an interesting introduction, some filler between verses and choruses that keeps you interested, and then a good solid ending. But how do you come up with this material? Well, the first technique is the most obvious and simple one. You use material that already exists in the song. Typically for the introduction, musicians doing this technique will just simply play the first line through instrumentally before the vocal starts. And then between the verse and the chorus, you do the same thing again. Might seem a little repetitive, but again, it's a simple way to start, just using material that already exists. Now for the end, musicians using this technique will do something called tagging the end. Remember, we're using material that already exists. To tag a song means to take the end of the song and play it again. A lot of times when musicians will tag an ending, they'll play it, and then they'll play it 2 more times for a total of 3. Don't know why. Psychologically, it just feels good. Feels like you're done 3 total times and you're out the door. Now I'd like to show you this simple technique, but then we're going to move on to some more creative ideas for intros, fillers, and endings. But first, here's the example of the first technique, using material that already exists. For the sake of being real clear, I've picked a very simple song. It's a pretty song, but it's very simple, only 4 chords. F, B flat, C, and E flat. And if you watch real carefully, you'll see that I'm throwing some higher extensions like major 7s and major 9s if you're into that. But that's not what this lesson is about. I simply want to show you now technique number 1, how to create intros, fillers, and endings from material that already exists. Okay, here's the introduction. And on the bottom, you can see that I'm playing the same chords as the first line of the song. Play it through twice. And then the vocal would start. And the chords are the same. And you'd be singing about your dearly departed parakeet or something. Okay, then the song would go into a bridge, which is some new material. But at the end of this bridge, watch, I'm going to create a little filler. I'm actually not going to create it. I'm just going to play the first line of the song again before it goes into the next verse. Here it is. So I'd play the first line of the song a little bit. Then the vocal would start again, singing the second verse. Okay, and then we're getting to the end here. So we're going to repeat that little section 2 more times for a total of 3. So the beautiful thing is you didn't have to exert any brain power to come up with any new material. It's already there. You use the beginning and then you tag the end. That's a real simple way. It's been done down through the years. It's real effective. I'm not trying to disparage that at all. It's a good technique. But it's just a simple way to start. There's a lot more creative techniques we can do, and we're going to start exploring those in this series. Let's dig in. Before we head into technique number 2, I want to head something off at the pass. You might have noticed in that song that even though I was just playing 4 simple chords, I was still playing all over the keyboard and playing lots of different interesting notes. Hope it was interesting to you. Those are what's called rhythmic patterns. And those rhythmic patterns are such a powerful technique to learn. You can take any song and learn to play all over the keyboard with interesting arrangements completely by ear without having to have the written notes on the page. Rhythmic patterns are the premise for the original course on our site. The name of that course is Pattern, Piano, and Keyboard. You can find it at PlayPianoTODAY.com. If you haven't gone through that, make sure you do. It will allow you to really cut loose on the keyboard. Okay, there's my sales pitch. Then let's go on to technique number 2 for intros, fillers, and endings. Like I mentioned, there's an infinite number of intros, fillers, and ending possibilities you can do for any given song. The first was very simple. We just used material that already existed. But now, from here on out, we're going to come up with new creative ways. So we'll maybe pull a little bit from material that exists, or maybe we'll do things that are brand new, just to give fantastic creativity, oozing with creativity in your songs. So now we're going to move on to a brand new technique to create intros, fillers, and endings. It's called descending lines. Descending lines have always been popular in music. If you're a child of the 70s, you know what this tune is. Of course, that tune is usually played on guitar. It sounds great on piano, too. But one of the reasons that descending lines are so powerful is because your ear is leading somewhere. And if you notice, I'm going down chromatically right now. That means every single note in the left hand. I could keep going. It's amazing how much emotion descending lines can evoke. So we're going to use that technique to create intros, fillers, and endings. Now, because I want to give you lots of stuff to chew on, we're going to study a couple different levels. We're going to study a 2-chord progression, so it's going to descend just by 2 notes, and back and forth, just 2 notes. Then we're going to go a little further, and we're going to descend farther down the scale. In addition, once we go further, we're going to talk about major 7 versus dominant 7 sounds. All of these techniques are really based under the same heading of using descending lines to create intros, fillers, and endings. So I hope you brought a big appetite to this lesson. There's lots of stuff for you in here. One of the things that I really like to do is explain things in depth, all the way down to the foundation. And sometimes when you're going through a lesson, you've got to say, hey, check this out. It's built on this, which is built on this, which is built on the bedrock of whatever you're talking about. So today, we're talking about descending lines and using them to build intros, fillers, and endings. And we're going to run down for a minute, down into the basement, and we're going to examine the bedrock of the chords and the scales that these lines are built on. Why? So that you understand, and so that you can stand on my shoulders then and take what I've given you, and you can go far beyond what I'm doing. That's what excites me. So let's examine for a while, right in the middle of this lesson, some chords and some scales, and really get some knowledge so we can put them to use. Different kinds of chords evoke different kind of emotions, obviously. If I played something like this, it really doesn't bring to mind images of a sunny day. Instead, it might make you think of like a funky get-together with your friends. Kind of a bluesy feel. But if I played something like this, it's like it's Saturday and you don't have to go to work. And somewhere far in the distance there's a lawnmower running, but it's not you mowing the grass. So it's very happy. I'm playing different kinds of chords, even though I know it's a gross oversimplification. The first batch of chords I played had primarily minor sounds to them, including minor 7s and dominant 7s, and the second batch had major sounds, including major triads and major 7s. There's a lot of music theory in there, but what I'm trying to say is that on a real simple level, minor sounds tend to be darker and tend to be more funky. Major sounds tend to be a little more happy, a little more bright. So depending on your mood, you're going to use minor sounds or major sounds. And maybe you're saying, I can hear the difference between major and minor, but what's the difference based on? It all comes down to something that's kind of... This has just been a quick overview of the piano lesson titled Intros, Fillers, and Endings, Chapter 1. As you can see, the entire lesson goes quite in depth. In fact, you can check the whole thing out over at PlayPianoTODAY.com/intros. In this website, there's a wealth of online piano and keyboard lessons that you can dig into right away, including this lesson.